Chapter 9. Beyond Philosophy. It is said that philosophy is like a blind man searching on a dark night, in a dark room, for a black cat which is not there. Therefore, if you can find any answers through philosophy, remember that this simply means that your question was silly, that your question really did not have any significance, that it was not a question about reality, i.e., about which is. For answers to real questions, for solutions to real problems, you will have to go beyond philosophy. In fact, the more one confines oneself to the study of only academic philosophy for arriving at answers, the more confused one becomes by contradictions. Philosophy is unable directly and satisfactorily to answer the vital questions concerning human existence. The realization of the necessity for a higher level of knowledge, knowledge which surpasses the levels of knowledge attainable by doing tricks with words, with intellect and clever reasoning, has become more and more apparent to modern man. We have come to realize that, in providing us with solutions relating to the fundamental problems of existence, modern philosophy has become almost as helpless as a little child. Philosophy is drifting farther and farther away from its real purpose, and is getting bogged down in futile discussions of artificial questions, which do not throw any light on the fundamental problems of life. Academic philosophers are very good at categorizing things. Their whole effort is to put everything in a particular category. This is this, that is that. If you ask them a question for which they already have an answer, well enough. But if a question is asked for which they do not have an answer, you are in trouble. Their whole approach to knowledge is mechanical. Academic philosophy is mechanical, and how can anything mechanical help you to become wise? They are no longer in search of the organic unity of life. They are no longer in search of the ultimate principle of life that sustains the existence of the trees, of mountains, of a rose, and each and every one of us. They are no longer in search of that unifying factor, the philosophia perennis, the highest knowledge, the truth. As there is only one reality as the basis of the universe, there can be only one ultimate truth, which should be the object of pursuit by anything that goes by the name philosophy. It is the knowledge of this truth which is the goal of all true philosophy. As I understand it, philosophy is the art of knowing life, knowing oneself, knowing everything, knowing what knowledge is, and knowing the skills and techniques of the process of knowing. In this sense, philosophy and knowledge become synonymous, but the word knowledge has been used in so many different senses that it becomes necessary to clarify what is meant here by knowledge and knowing. There are many other words which are mistakenly considered to have the same meaning as the word knowledge. Some of the other words which we confuse with knowledge are information, memory, understanding, wisdom, and awareness. In fact, each of these words actually represents different functions in human consciousness. We very often consider a wise man as simply being a man of knowledge, or we consider a man who has good understanding as a man of knowledge. Sometimes people who are able to pick up and store information in their memory are called knowledgeable, simply because they can reproduce this data like a parrot, like a computer. But only when you are able to know something in a manner which a computer cannot, will you have earned the right to be called knowledgeable. After all, the basic power for having all types of non-mechanical knowledge, including all nomenclatures of knowledge, is derived from human consciousness. Unfortunately, the word consciousness is used very loosely in modern psychology, and even in ordinary parlance. It is used to refer to the principle of human awareness in a very general way. We use the words consciousness and mind almost synonymously. This is understandable because the two are so closely intertwined in their expression that we can hardly distinguish between them. Nevertheless, it must be fully understood that there can be no mind without consciousness, because mind arises out of consciousness. Therefore, if one is not conscious, there is no question of one being knowledgeable or having any kind of understanding, wisdom, or awareness. It then follows necessarily that human consciousness is the prime source of power that sustains all the functions and modifications of the human mind, namely memory. Another lower form of knowledge, perhaps the lowest, is information, which is data gathered through the physical sensory system of perception. Our eyes see and our ears hear, our hands feel, our tongue tastes, our nose smells, and so on, thereby enabling us to know what we are perceiving. This knowledge of our perceptive experience is just information about the experience. This knowledge is then stored in our memory, from where we can recall it and communicate it to others. In spite of the ability to recall and communicate this knowledge through words, it simply remains information. Next come the sensory perceptions themselves, per se. Even without the use of the physical organs of perception, we are able to see, hear, taste, and so on. In short, we are able to create experiences through imagery. Although the operation of the faculty of imagination is very often based upon the use of information obtained through the physical sensory apparatus, at times it can be original and unrelated to the information gathered in this manner. Knowledge, arising from the sensory system of perception per se, is knowledge of a higher kind than mere information. It is this kind of knowledge which inspires great works of art, or scientific invention, of spiritual revelations, of literary breakthroughs and religious miracles. But knowledge higher than this is the knowledge arising from that part of the mind which is described as reason and understanding. Please note that the human mind has the capacity to perform three different functions. The first, and the lowest, is sensing, when it picks up information via the sensory system of perception. Reasoning, and the use of logic, is the second and higher function of the mind. It is that part which does what we call thinking. All thinking involves the use of words. These words are nothing more than phonetic symbols, having a certain connotation based on our association of ideas with them. Thus, the words that each individual utilizes in his thinking process will have a unique and private meaning. No two individuals can have the same association of ideas with the same set of words. Through the process of recalling to memory and through the process of association of ideas, words are used to create a logical cause and effect relationship in the thinking process. This mental process is continuous and goes on in ordinary consciousness all the time. This, then, is a brief description of the second function of the human mind, namely, logic and reasoning. Knowledge acquired through this process is commonly considered to be a higher form of knowledge than the knowledge which arises from information gathered through the sensory system of perceptions. Philosophy, as it is currently understood, is entirely based on logic and reason. Logic is the foundation of science, but not the foundation of life. Logic and reasoning are only applicable to dead things, because the basic method of logic is dissection, and the moment you dissect something, you kill it. Academic philosophy simply goes on killing people, because it goes on dissecting man and dissecting the human experience into categories and parts. Therefore, if you want to find the meaning of life through the study of academic philosophy, through logic, you will never find it. The very process and method being used will prohibit it. Life is like a flower, a rose. You can dissect it, you can analyze its ingredients and chemical composition, but you will then miss the most important thing, its beauty. You will not be able to find any beauty, any life, any fragrance. They will all be gone. There will be a few chemicals, but these chemicals are not the rose. These chemicals were simply the situation, the circumstances, in which the rose appeared. The rose has escaped and disappeared into an invisible world. Philosophizing life is like dissecting a dancer. Do you really expect to find dance inside him? You will find bones, flesh, blood, and so many other things, but you will not find dance. You can cut open the throat of a singer, but you will not find the song. The throat is simply a vehicle, a medium. The song comes from a world beyond science or academic philosophy, beyond logic and reason. The third and highest function of the mind is creative thinking. It is called creative, although nothing is actually created, except new patterns and designs. The mind simply picks up the various elements of sensory perception, churns them, and then rearranges this information into different patterns and designs. The mind simply picks up the various elements of sensory perception, churns them, and then rearranges this information into different patterns and designs. This whole process is called creativity. However, the mind creates nothing new. The contents gathered through the sensing apparatus remain the same, and only a new pattern, a different combination of the elements of perception, is evolved. There are, however, certain times when the creative mind does overlap with higher awareness, which we will examine a little later. But for the present, I will return to examination of knowledge and its variant, wisdom. Wisdom is the growth of your own consciousness. It is intrinsic. It does not come from outside. It explodes within you and then spreads to your outer life. When knowledge dovetails practically or near practically with the exigencies of human experience, it is called wisdom. It is something which must be obtained by each individual by his own effort from the deepest recesses of his own consciousness. Wisdom, unlike information, cannot be borrowed from books, lectures, and so on. The difference, then, between a wise man's knowledge and understanding and the understanding of someone who is not wise consists in the former's ability to correctly apply his knowledge and understanding to the situations and problems of real life. A wise man is one whose understanding is practical, applicable to the problems of life, and that enhances the experience of joy, love, and happiness. Wisdom results from a very highly developed capacity to understand, combined with a very deep experience of life. The experience may not be long in years, but it would be significant in terms of its impact upon human consciousness. Therefore, wisdom is a superior form of knowledge, as it couples understanding with practical living. But higher than wisdom is the fully developed human awareness, available through the use of the faculty of intuition. It is direct knowledge of the entire human situation. It solves all of the riddles of the mind and, therefore, has often been described as the attainment of total knowledge or total awareness. When human awareness gets developed to this level, it provides us with total knowledge, knowledge which surpasses all understanding. Sometimes this level of knowledge has been called transcendental knowledge, because it transcends the mental processes of ordinary knowledge. Sometimes this knowledge is also referred to as mystic knowledge, because it can be acquired by various mystic practices. However, no matter what label we give to this higher knowledge, one thing is clear. It encompasses all other forms of knowledge and gives a meaning and interpretation to them. Therefore, philosophy, in the truest sense of the word, must consist of the art and techniques of securing this total knowledge. And, side by side with the quest for this highest level of knowledge, there has always been the simultaneous quest for higher levels of consciousness. Any intelligent person who is capable of serious reflection, who is capable of understanding even the most elementary realities of human existence, cannot help but conclude that there is a great mystery hidden behind the universe as well as behind his own life. And until this mystery is unraveled, life can have no real meaning, and man cannot be at peace with himself. However, there are people who do not concern themselves with this mystery, and instead get involved in their careers, families, and so on. But the unconscious presence of life's unresolved mystery will continue to haunt them and poison whatever little happiness they are able to derive from this life. We have become so engrossed in our ordinary pursuits and passions that we are hardly aware of the hard facts of life which stare us right in the face. If only we would honestly look at these facts, we would tremble. We would be shaken to the very core of our being by their impact. It requires only a little common sense on our part, and a little detachment from our engrossing preoccupations, to see how utterly meaningless and dreamlike the whole drama, being played on the stage of this world, would be if there was nothing more to life. Should we not try to go deeper into the question of human existence and its problems, instead of living our lives thoughtlessly? The deeper problems of life do not cease to exist simply because they are ignored. They will simply appear in the form of some other problem, more serious and far more dangerous to our peace of mind. When society ignores the needs of man's spiritual nature, the need to know the truth, we are temporarily able to do what we like without any inhibition. But, sooner or later, the problem will reappear, perhaps in the form of a nuclear war, with the dreadful possibility of destroying this whole planet. 35 centuries ago, a great continent, Atlantis, disappeared into the ocean. Atlantis was the most advanced society on Earth. Civilization had reached its highest peak, and whenever civilization reaches a great scientific peak, there is a great danger involved. The danger of it falling apart. Humanity is again facing this same danger. Scientific breakthroughs have made man very, very powerful. And when there is too much power and too little understanding, power has always proved fatal. Atlantis committed suicide. Without higher knowledge, scientific growth is dangerous. The whole world is again in a state of chaos. Society is uprooted and life seems meaningless. Moral values are disappearing, and a great darkness of evil surrounds us. Our sense of direction is lost. We simply feel that life is accidental. There seems to be no purpose, no significance. Life appears to be just a byproduct of chance. It seems as if existence does not care about us. It seems that whatever we are doing is futile, routine, and mechanical. Life seems to be pointless. You don't know who you are, where you are, why you are. You feel like a piece of driftwood with no direction. Where are you going? Why were you even born? For what? These answers you do not know. The question mark is there all over your face. Why? The reason is because you have not looked into the deepest core of your being. You have not unraveled the mystery which surrounds your being and very existence, And there can be no real peace in life until and unless the answers to these questions are known. The answers to all questions lie within ourselves, within our own consciousness. I have taken a long time to make such a simple statement as this, that all answers lie within us. And yet I am not satisfied that I have said enough. I am not sure if you will really look within yourself to find the answers. Even if sometimes the desire to search within arises, you again start searching outside. You may still like to read books or listen to lectures to get the answers. Lectures and books, however good they might be, are still outside. They are not going within you. Sometimes you go to this place or that place, but why are you going to these places? Somebody goes to India, somebody to Tibet, and so on, but still the search remains somewhere outside. So even when the right desire arises, you move in the wrong direction. If you really want to know who you are, you need not ask anybody else. Nobody can answer this question except you. And even if someone answers, the answer will not be your answer. At the most, it will be information, and information is futile because it is not knowing. Not only will this information be of no help to you, it will simply create more confusion in you. Therefore, the correct process is first to go within, and then go to these lectures, holy lands, and so on. These things will then serve as a witness to your experience. They will authenticate what you already know, and you will be able to verify their authenticity. Otherwise, all reading, studying, or attending lectures are going to simply create more and more confusion. How will you be able to interpret their validity? You cannot understand more than you have experienced. You can understand only that much which you have known on your own, which you, yourself, have experienced. Consciousness, which is the creator of all experiences, is inside us, within our own self, and all answers must come from there. The teacher, the guru, the master, is within ourselves, and we have to discover him within. But we have become so accustomed to searching outside that the master residing within us must come outside. He must come outside to talk to us, not because the truth is outside, but because we look nowhere else. He says, "I waited for you for a long time within, but you never turned your attention within. What could I do? I became impatient. That is why I have come outside to talk to you. But I am only the image of the teacher. The real teacher still remains inside you. My role is to push you back to your own self. Hence, the outer master does not impart mere information. He imparts being. He does not make you more knowledgeable. He makes you more aware, more meditative. He will not just give you theories, hypotheses, and academic philosophy. He will throw you back to your own self again and again. Sometimes he has to do this in spite of you. Because you want to cling to some philosophy, you want clear-cut, ready-made answers, some kind of dogma or doctrine to believe in. Yet the master will refuse to give you any dogma or theology. In fact, he will take all these ideas from you, and slowly he will leave you totally naked. Then you will see yourself as you are, and not as according to some doctrine. All this happens within you, and you need not go anywhere else. What, however, is this business of going within? Can there be a methodology for going within? And if so, what?